Hi everyone, I'm Teacher Cheryl and welcome to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be looking at unusual questions. What I'm referring to are questions in the O-Level Comprehension Paper 2 exam, which usually ask you what is unusual about a certain word or phrase in the text. So first of all, let's check what unusual actually means. So this is how the Oxford Online Dictionary has defined the word unusual. As you can see on my screen, it says that unusual is something that's different from what is usual or normal. So this is something that we need to apply to our answer. In our answer, we need to state what is different from the norm. So keeping that in mind, let's look at a simple structure that we can use to answer these unusual questions. So in the first part of our answer, we need to include what is usual. Once we've done that, then we can talk about what's unusual about the word or phrase. So my sentence structure will look something like this. However, in this case, it is unusual because. Okay, so now that we have looked at a structure that we can use, let's look at an actual comprehension question. I'm going to read this question for you first. From the daylight nightmare, I was awakened as I had been many times before by my sisters. The question is, what is unusual about the phrase daylight nightmare? So first of all, we need to analyze the phrase daylight nightmare. So let's start off with the word daylight. So daylight means during the daytime. What about nightmare? Nightmare refers to a frightening dream, and this usually happens when we sleep at night. So remember the structure that we went through just a moment ago. In the first part of our answer, we talk about what is usual, and in the second part of our answer, we would write something like, however, in this case, it is unusual because. So let me show you my suggested answer. Nightmares are bad dreams that usually happen when we sleep at night. However, in this case, it is unusual because this nightmare happened in the day. So notice how in the very first sentence, I have talked about what is usual, which is nightmares usually happen when we sleep at night. And in my second sentence, I follow the structure, however, in this case, it is unusual because. And then after that, I explain why it is unusual or what is different from the norm. So let's take a look at the second question. Even so, to this day, when the skies suddenly darken and a storm builds up in the west, and I smell rain on the wind and hear the first growl of thunder, I grow uneasy and start looking for brooms. And the question is asking us, what is unusual about the narrator looking for brooms when it is about to rain? So for this question, we need to focus on the phrase looking for brooms. What I'd like you to do here is to pause this video, think about what is usual and unusual about the phrase, and try to craft your answer using the structure that we just went through. Then, share your answers with me in the comment box below. Okay, I hope you've done that, so let's go through the answer together. First of all, we need to think about what is usual about the phrase looking for brooms. So brooms are usually used for cleaning, so we normally look for brooms when we want to do some cleaning. In this phrase, there are no other clues that tell us the context, or why is the writer looking for a broom. So we need to look at the rest of the paragraph to determine why is the writer looking for brooms. Notice in this paragraph, they focus on the weather. So basically, the context of the story is that it's going to rain. And what do we normally look for when it rains? We normally look for an umbrella. Okay, so using all this information that we have gathered, let's try to craft our answer. Again, in the first part of my answer, I'm going to talk about what is usual. And in the second part of my answer, I'm going to add, however, in this case, it is unusual because, and give my explanation why it is unusual. So this is my suggested answer. So in the first part, remember I said we have to talk about what is usual. So in my answer, I stated, brooms are usually used for cleaning and not to protect against a storm. Next, I have to explain why this entire situation is unusual. So in my answer, I've stated, however, in this case, it is unusual because the narrator looked for brooms instead of umbrellas when he thought that it was about to start raining. Did you manage to get an answer similar to mine? Okay, so let's go on to the next question. Kian released a silent scream at the sight, while all around him, the Americans attacked with submachine guns, sending bullets buzzing like deadly bees. What is unusual about the phrase silent scream? So we need to focus on this phrase, silent scream. Once again, I'd like you to pause this video. Think about what is usual and unusual about this phrase. Craft your answer and share your answer with me in the comment box below. So let's go through the answer together. First of all, silent means that there's no sound. But the second word, scream, refers to an extremely loud, piercing cry. So straight away, we can see what is unusual about this phrase. Once again, I'm going to use the same structure. In the first sentence, I'm going to talk about what is usual. And in the second sentence, I would say, however, in this case, it is unusual because, and explain why it is unusual. So this is my suggested answer. Let's look at the first part. Screams are usually extremely loud and piercing. So remember, in this sentence, I talk about what is usual, and then I continue with what is unusual. However, in this case, it is unusual because it has been described as silent or cannot be heard. I hope you managed to get an answer that's something similar to mine. Let's move on to the next question. He was aware of the cabin's lullaby rocking, which seemed to him a magical thing, suggesting motion within immobility. But perhaps the finest thing about the marina, he mused, was the constant lap of water against the boat's hull and the gentle clatter of boats against their moorings. What is unusual about the phrase motion within immobility? So we need to focus on this phrase motion within immobility. Once more, I'd like you to pause this video, think about what is usual and unusual about this phrase, craft your answer, and once again share your answer with me in the comment box below. Alright, so let's go through the answer together. Focusing on the word motion, what does motion actually mean? So motion actually means movement. On the other hand, the second part of the phrase has the word immobility, and immobility means no movement. So quite obviously, we can see what is unusual about this particular phrase already. But once again, we need to actually craft it into a proper sentence in order to answer the question clearly. So going back to the same structure, in my first sentence, I will talk about what is usual. And then in my second sentence, I will say, however, in this case, it is unusual because. So take a look at my suggested answer. My first sentence goes like this. Motion usually refers to movement, while immobility refers to a lack of movement. And I continue to the second part of my sentence. However, in this case, it is unusual because the two opposite words were used together to describe the rocking movement of the cabin. You could probably imagine it, right? A cabin is like a house and it's actually not moving. However, in this situation, it's actually moving because it's on the water. Okay, let's look at one final question. What wonderful views greeted us at that altitude. We could almost touch the snow-clad Pico Boulevard, looking majestic, ancient and wise, lording everything beneath, over time and space. Below rushed the tiny meandering river, a moving silver thread woven into the dark fabric of the mountain. What's unusual about the phrase, below rushed the tiny meandering river? So we need to focus on this phrase, rushed the tiny meandering river. I'd like you to pause this video, think about what is usual and unusual about this phrase, craft your answer using the structure we have covered, and share your answer in the comment box below. So let's go through the answer together. First of all, we need to know what meandering river is. So the word meandering actually tells us that the river is curving back and forth like a snake. It's kind of like an S shape, as you can see in the picture on my screen. And one thing you need to know is that if a river meanders like this, it goes left and right, it normally means that it is a very slow moving river. It cannot go too fast because it has to go back and forth, left and right. So now that we know what a meandering river is, let's go back to the phrase. The very first word of this phrase is rushed. And rushed means that something is moving very quickly. Okay, so now that we've gathered all the information that we need, we're going to craft our answer. Again, we need to follow that structure. The first sentence is where we will talk about what is usual, and in the second sentence, we will talk about what is unusual. So take a look at my suggested answer. I'm going to look at the first part first. Meandering river usually suggests slow-moving waters. So in this sentence, I'm talking about what is usual about the phrase meandering rivers. And in the second part of my sentence, I'm going to talk about what is unusual. However, in this case, it is unusual because it is described as gushing or fast-moving waters. So notice how in my second sentence, I've explained why the phrase is unusual. Okay, I hope I've given you a better idea on how to answer these types of questions. All you have to do is to follow the simple structure that we have covered today. So what's next? I'd like you to keep practicing, keep applying what we have covered today in other unusual questions. Also, I have a few other videos where I cover the various comprehension question types as well. I'll leave a link in the description box below for you. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to my channel for more videos like this. Also, feel free to share this video with your friends or family whom you think would find it useful as well. See you in the next one. Bye!